before the pyramids rose from the Egyptian sands, before Rome echoed with the march of legions, before Athens birthed democracy. There was Sumer, buried beneath layers of earth and time in the southern reaches of ancient Mesopotamia. In what is now modern-day Iraq, flourished a civilization that laid the foundations of the world we know today. This is the story of the Sumerians, the first civilization in history. The land of Sumer was located in the southern part of Mesopotamia, between two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. This region, often called the Fertile Crescent, was rich in silt and ideal for farming. But life here was not easy. Floods were unpredictable, and the climate harsh. Yet, it was here that people first learned to work with the land, digging irrigation canals, building levees, and turning wild floodplains into fields. And from this, civilization was born. The Sumerians did not live in a single kingdom. Instead, they built independent city-states. Ur, Uruk, Erud, Lagash, and Nippur each ruled itself, with its own king, its own temple, and its own god. These city-states competed, traded, and sometimes clashed. At their center stood the ziggurat, a towering stepped temple that reached toward the heavens. It was the home of the city's patron god and the spiritual heart of daily life. In the city of Uruk, one of the earliest and greatest of Sumerian cities, over 50,000 people lived, worked, and worshipped. It was, by all accounts, the first true metropolis in human history. Sumerians developed some of the earliest forms of government. Power was often shared between temple priests and kings. The priests interpreted the will of the gods, while the kings led armies and upheld justice. One of the world's oldest legal codes, the Code of Yanamu, was written here, centuries before Hammurabi. It outlined laws, punishments, and property rights, proving that even in these early times, justice was not just a concept. It was written, structured, and practiced. Religion shaped every part of Sumerian life. They believed the gods controlled nature, fate, and fortune. The sky god, Unu, the air god, Enlil, the water god, Enki, and Inanna, the powerful goddess of love and war, were central to their myths and worship. They believed humans were created to serve the gods, to build temples, offer sacrifices, and keep the divine world in balance. Their stories reflected timeless human questions. It's the Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's oldest recorded epic, tells of a mighty king's search for immortality, his grief, his failures, and his longing for meaning. It is a story as human today as it was 5,000 years ago. To manage their growing cities and growing complexity, the Sumerians did something extraordinary. They invented writing. Around 3200 BCE, they began pressing a reed stylus into wet clay, creating wedge-shaped marks known as cuneiform. At first, it was used for accounting and trade, but soon they began recording laws, myths, prayers, and even songs. It was the birth of recorded history, the first time thoughts could live on long after the thinker was gone. Their economy revolved around farming. Thanks to their irrigation systems, they grew barley, wheat, dates, and flax. They raised cattle, goats, and sheep. They brewed beer, a staple in the Sumerian diet, and traded across long distances. They exchanged goods with lands as far away as the Indus Valley and Anatolia, bringing back precious metals, stones, timber to manage their crops and taxes. They needed math, so they developed a number system based on 60. That's why we still divide hours into 60 minutes and circles into 360 degrees. They tracked the stars, created calendars, and used astronomy to plan harvests and festivals. Their understanding of the heavens would later influence Babylonian, Greek, and even modern science. Medicine was both practical and spiritual. Illnesses were often blamed on angry gods or evil spirits, but treatments were surprisingly advanced. Clay tablets described the use of herbs, salves, and even basic surgery. They recorded symptoms, diagnoses, and remedies, blending magic and medicine in a way that reflects humanity's first steps toward science. Culturally, the Sumerians were rich and expressive. They played music on lyres and flutes, created intricate carvings in cylinder seals, and wore garments woven from wool. Their cuisine included stews made with onions, garlic, dates, and lamb. They baked bread, brewed beer, and held feasts in the temples and homes. Even thousands of years ago, they found joy in art, music, storytelling, canned food. But, like all civilizations, Sumer's time came to an end. By around 2000 BCE, the city-states began to weaken. Invasions from the north, environmental changes, and internal conflicts led to their gradual decline. They were eventually absorbed by the Akkadian and later Babylonian empires. Yet, the legacy of Sumer never truly disappeared. Their writing system was used for over 2,000 years. Their laws and myths influenced generations of rulers and thinkers. Their inventions, from the wheel to writing, to the calendar, shaped the world that followed. Today, we still live in the shadow of their brilliance. We tell stories, keep records, measure time, obey laws, and search the stars, just as they did. The Sumerians were the first to imagine civilization, and then to build it. Their story is not only the beginning of history, it is the beginning of us.